What's going on, people? Welcome to another edition of Gen Sports Corner. Back at you for February 10th, 2019. I appreciate you guys tuning in with me again. I got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I want to jump right into it. But if you haven't already, make sure you go to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and type in Gen Music 856, GEN Music 856. Check out my channel, like, subscribe, and click the bell notification so you can get all the latest on in music and sports entertainment from my channel. I'll be dropping episodes weekly, and I also have a lot of news. Always have news with music coming up, so make sure you stay tuned to that as well. But let me stop rambling on and jump right into the good stuff. So first and foremost, the NBA trade deadline this past Thursday had a lot of action, a lot of players moving here, there, and everywhere else. Things got really interesting in the East. So a lot of things got shaken up. You had the Sixers making the blockbuster trade for Tobias Harris and for Boban Marjanovic. So the Sixers gave up Wilson Chandler, forward Mike Muscala, who ended up being traded to the Lakers at the end of the day. Landry Shamet, a 2020 first round pick, 2021 first round pick that we got from Miami, which was the big one, and that was unprotected, and 2 future second round picks from Detroit, one in 2021 and one in 2023. And we got back Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, and Mike Scott. And I'll talk more about those guys today. From the Lakers-Sixers game, they played a big role. But Tobias Harris, huge pickup. Could have been an all-star in the West this year, averaging 20.9 points a game. Really, really, really talented player. Can kill you with the 2-point shot, the mid-range jumper, makes tough contested shots, driving to the basket, and obviously shooting 43.4% from three-point range. So he just brings you so much in terms of versatility and spacing on the floor. So we saw it in Friday's game, and I'll get to today's game that just ended about an hour ago. Then you had, in my opinion, the response to the Sixers move. Actually, the Sixers made 2 other trades as well. One with Orlando, which was the one that sent Markelle Fultz down to the Magic. We sent Markelle Fultz, and we received Jonathan Simmons, who, if you haven't checked him out, his backstory is pretty inspirational. Protected first round pick in 2019 via the Thunder, and then a 2019 second round pick. And then we also made a trade with the Rockets. We swapped the rights to a 2021 second round pick, and we picked up James Ennis, really good reserve forward. And then, almost as if in response to the Sixers moves, the Raptors and the Bucks went ahead and made this an arms race. The Bucks made a 3-team deal, which netted them Mirotic from the Pelicans. And the Pistons received Thon Maker, the Bucks received Mirotic, and the Pelicans received forward Jason Smith and forward Stanley Johnson and 4 future second-round draft picks from Detroit. So that was a big move for the Bucks to add firepower to an already good team. And then the Raptors made a big trade where they picked up center Marc Gasol, and they traded away center Jonas Valanciunas, guard Delon Wright, forward/guard CJ Miles, and a 2024 second round pick. So even though Marc Gasol I don't think he's the elite player that he once was, he still brings them an offensive presence on the offensive side. And the Bucks, they get a good 3-point shooter and a good stretch 4 to space out the floor for them. You know, the Greek freak, he is what he is. He's all-star. He's a freak of nature, but he doesn't have the shot yet, just like Ben Simmons. So getting Mirotic is really going to add them another role player to stretch the floor. So it's going to be interesting to see how this East shapes up down the stretch. The Sixers, the Bucks, the Raptors, and the Celtics. those are the 4 teams to watch down the stretch. Right now, the way I see it, I'll talk about what order I think the 4 teams are after I talk about the Lakers-Sixers game that just happened. But let's move on to the next order of business and look at the Sixers Friday night game against the Nuggets. We got a really quick look at kind of what the Sixers were going to look like with Tobias Harris and all the new pieces that they acquired. And they had a pretty good game against the second best team in the West, in the Denver Nuggets. I mean, we all know Jokic. He's a beast at center. He had 27 points and 10 rebounds and 10 assists. He had a triple-double in that game on Friday night. But it wasn't enough. If I didn't see the game that night, but I saw the replay, and throughout the entire game, even though it was competitive, there wasn't a point where you didn't feel as though the Sixers didn't have control or couldn't keep the Nugget. There wasn't a point where the Sixers didn't have an answer for every run that the Nuggets went on. The Sixers immediately answered back. And, man, we saw the effect of Tobias Harris immediately from three-point range and stretching out the floor. I mean, the spacing was incredible. And for a team that didn't have any time to really practice together, man, they look pretty damn good. So, man, Tobias Harris, what did he have in this game? Tobias Harris, in his first game as a Sixer, had 14 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and he hit, I believe, 2 3-point. Yeah, he was 2 of 3 from 3-point range. And he just looked very comfortable. Embiid was sick. He had 15 and 12, which is respectable. Not what you typically get out of him, but, he still did his thing. Ben Simmons had 12 points, 4 assists, didn't have a great game. Jimmy Butler had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Jimmy had a really good game, and JJ went the hell off, man. JJ had 34 points, 6 of 7 from 3-point range. I mean, he was unconscious. And you just see all the open looks that he's getting now that you have this spacing with Tobias Harris on the floor. And they're able to keep 2 to 3 of their best players on the court at any given time. So it really makes up for that lack of depth on the bench. So you never get a chance to rest against the Sixers now when their second unit is out there, because they always have 2 stars out there at any given time, if not 3. And then the bench players, Ennis looked pretty good. He was 2 for 2 from 3-point range. So the bench played well. The bench played very well. And I think they will moving forward as they continue to gel together. So I was really encouraged about that, which brings me to today's game. Happened at 3:30 against the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Los Angeles Bronze. And, man, that was a really good test because we played the Lakers, I believe, a week or 2 ago, and LeBron was still out with that groin strain. And we rolled them. They looked like a young team. They had turnovers all over the place, and they didn't look prepared. This was around the trade deadline, so, all the rumors were swirling, and they just looked like a very young team. And we ran them out the gym. Even at the points where the score got close, you kind of had the sense that the Sixers had the game in control, more or less. So it was interesting to see what this game was going to look like today, now that Bron was back and you had the full complement of Lakers players. Lonzo Ball was out, I understand that, but I mean, he's an okay player. I mean, the real people that you want to see the Sixers match up against were Bron and Kuzma and Ingram. Those are the guys you want to see them match wits with and see what was what. And, man, that first quarter, it was, 40-39 Lakers? I mean, the scoring was crazy, and Kuzma had 20 points in the first quarter. But as the game wore on, man, that Sixers team, Joel Embiid just wore them out. He wore them out. And when he got into the paint, all the options that he had to kick it out to, whether it was JJ Redick or Tobias Harris or Ennis or the other guy that they picked up, Scott from the Clippers, he played very well off the bench. So you had, and then TJ, since the bench was playing so well, guys like Korkmaz and TJ McConnell, you were able to get them in the game but limit their minutes, so you're able to get the absolute best out of them. And man, the Sixers, once it rolled into the middle of the third, going into the fourth quarter, we started tearing them up. We started picking them apart piece by piece, and Bron had a quiet game. I mean, I think he had like 20 points or something to that nature, 18, 20 points, but he had a real quiet game. And this, they're not even like gelled together yet. I'm telling you, this Sixers team is going to be scary with a capital S once they really get going and really get used to playing with each other and whatnot, and where the teammates are going to be at on the court. It's going to be an exciting time. Like, the buzz for the Sixers right now is the same as it is for the Eagles when it's, playoff time. It's that same feeling. It's that same intensity. And this game had the feeling of the intensity of a playoff matchup. And we showed up and showed out. We beat them, 143 to 120? I think that was it. And even down the stretch in garbage time with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, our bench was coming out and just scoring at will on their bench. Our starters were scoring at will on their starters, and our bench was scoring at will on their starters and their bench. So, man, Sixers are, watch out for them, man. Just watch out. That's all I had to say about the Sixers. Just mad excited. Let me flip the script real quick to NFL free agency in the offseason. Didn't really talk about the Super Bowl. It was a very ugly, boring 60-minute game of just absolute nothingness. You have to give credit to the defensive coordinators. Wade Phillips had Tom Brady not knowing what the hell he was seeing. As soon as I talked about this in my previous video, that Wade Phillips was the one guy that has given Tom Brady fits, and in the future, i.e. that game, could give Tom Brady fits, and he did. Right off the rip, Tom Brady drives down the field and bang, throws an interception because Wade Phillips showed him one thing before the snap, boom, showed him something else completely different after the snap. So, that's what he does. That's what he does. And Bill Belichick, he being the defensive genius he is, he completely had Jared Goff confused. And let's not act like we didn't see Jared Goff looking like a deer in the headlights for the past 5 to 6 weeks, spanning back to the Eagles game. So I definitely said that Goff was a liability. I thought that the Rams would be able to win this game, but I also didn't know that Todd Gurley was only going to get 5 carries. Still don't know what the hell was up with that. I mean, it obviously has to be an injury. There's no way on God's green earth you would sit down your best player in the Super Bowl. There is no game after that. So, yeah, I didn't foresee that, but still, both teams were trying their best to give the other team the victory. I mean, when it's 3-3, when it's 3-0 going into the fourth quarter, and then it's 3-3, and I mean, you got to give Tom Brady and the Patriots credit for going down, in the fourth quarter and making a clutch drive and getting the touchdown, but that's really all they did the whole game. I mean, that field goal at the end, that's a garbage time field goal and it sealed the deal, but that touchdown was really the only thing either team did on offense. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. So, I don't like the Patriots, but I give them credit. They outlasted the Rams, and they handled business, and they got it done. Doesn't matter how you get it done, it just matters that you got it done. Now, for the offseason, looking at the Eagles, we have, I believe it might be the 24th pick in the draft or something of that nature. I haven't gotten into the drafts heavy yet. I will in my upcoming videos, but we're in the, obviously, drafting in the 20s. So a lot of needs that we're going to have to address. What do we do at left tackle with Jason Peters? Played at a high level going down the stretch into the playoffs, but he's injured every other game, and they're going to have to think about the future there. What's going to happen with Nick Foles? He paid the $2 million to opt out of the contract, so where's he going to go? In my mind, the Redskins and the Jaguars make the most sense. The Jaguars need a quarterback. Blake Bortles is obviously not the future, so we'll see what happens with Nick Foles. And then I'll talk more about free agency with the Eagles in my next videos. And as far as the Raiders go, that's where it's a little bit more interesting because we have the number 4 overall pick in the draft, I believe. Something to that nature. And then we have picks 24 and 27. So we have a lot of draft capital in this first round, and we need to improve the pass rush, obviously, because we traded Khalil Mack. But even if we had kept him, we needed to address the interior pass rush. So hopefully they draft one of these stud defensive tackles with that number 4 overall pick. I believe it's the number 4 overall pick. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I believe it's the number 4 overall pick. And then we need to address what are we going to do at wide receiver and then at cornerback. Garyon Conley showed me some things this year. I still have hope and confidence that he can turn into a great player. Jonathan Joseph really came back to life this year, showed me a lot of good things. You really just need that cornerback to complement Garyon Conley right now. So they need to address that spot. They need to address the interior pass rush. And they're going to need to address wide receiver. Those are the 3 main areas of concern for me right now. But, we'll see what Grudog does with this draft. Because have I been critical of some of his moves this offseason? Yes. I'm still critical of the Khalil Mack move. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances surrounding that you have to take into account. But I see John Gruden almost repeating what he did the first time around with the Raiders back in, I believe it was 96 or 97 that he came to the Raiders originally. And he tore the roster down and he built it back up from the ground up. And you just saw his imprint on those teams, the 98, the 99, and the 2000 teams, all the way up to 2002 when we lost the Super Bowl to the Bucks when Rich Gannon was MVP of the league. So he knows how to build a team. He knows football. We'll just see what he does in the draft. And I think bringing on Mike Mayock was a very wise decision because he has his ear to the college game. He has his finger on the pulse of the upcoming talent in the NFL draft. And he's just familiar with a lot of these college players and these different programs. So he's going to be able to give John Gruden and the rest of this coaching staff insight on what players are going to be the best fit for the Raiders moving on in Oakland this next year and moving on to Vegas in 2020. So we'll see how it goes. And I'll be talking about the Raiders draft as well coming up. But I thought I'd kind of lay out the framework for what I thought the needs were for the Eagles and the Raiders moving forward into this offseason. Free agency is coming up in March, so it's going to be here before we know it. Moving on briefly to the Flyers. As you can see, I have my Flyers hat on because they are on fire. They are back in the mix, and they are back to life from the dead. They are 9-0-1, the one being a overtime shootout loss to the LA Kings a couple days ago. But they are 9-0-1 in their last 10 games. They are on fire, man. So 18. They've had 19 points in the last 10 games. They have been on fire, man. And one of the main reasons, yes, that offense has gotten it going, but Carter Hart, man, we finally have a goalie of the future. Finally brought the young man up, and he has been a revelation. He has been making save after save after save. A couple games ago, he had this one save that was just, man, I don't know if it was on SportsCenter Top 10, but it damn sure could have been. He got the juice, man. He got the juice. So I'm going to be talking about the Flyers more and more because they are they're showing some heart, man. They're showing some life. Next on the list is the Phillies. The Phillies. They are making moves quietly this offseason, and they have quietly built themselves into a good hitting lineup. With the trade with John Segura from the Mariners, the all-star shortstop, brings you good pop, can hit for average, and a hell of a defensive shortstop. Then you brought in the recent trade to get JT Realmuto from the Miami Marlins. Huge trade, arguably one of, if not the best catcher in Major League Baseball. Excuse me. You know, hitting for average, hit 277 last year. Has an arm, great defense. He knows how to call a game. So now you have two bats in your lineup with Segura and Realmuto. So now imagine. And then you picked up McCutchen, who brings you a veteran presence. Not quite the all-star player from a few years ago that he was with the Pirates, but still a very good outfielder. So now you had some solidity there. And with the trade to get Segura, you were able to ship off Carlos Santana and J.P. Crawford. Now you're able to move Rhys Hoskins back to his primary spot at first base. So now all of a sudden you have some pop in that lineup. Now imagine if you add Machado and or Harper to that lineup. Now you really have something serious there. So pay attention, man. Spring training is coming up. It's right around the corner, man. It's almost here. So keep your eyes out for that. Last thing I wanted to talk about, and a sport that I wanted to kind of jump into and learn a little more about, is cricket. And I figured I'd talk about it right after baseball because even though it's a different sport, there are so many similarities between the sports. There's a lot of people that are interested in it and that have asked me about it. So I want to start talking about it and start learning about the sport. So I'm going to start touching on cricket a little bit more as I move forward in these videos. I'll keep it real brief, but one of the big events that's coming up in cricket is the Cricket World Cup. Being hosted in England. Is down from 14 teams this year to 10 teams. So the 10 teams that are in it are Australia, Bangladesh, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka. They all qualified back in 2017 in the ICC ODI Championship. And then the last two teams are Afghanistan and the West Indies, who both of those teams just finished qualifying on March 23rd of last year. So those are the 10 teams that are going to be in the Cricket World Cup. And I'm going to be interested to look at it. If you guys haven't heard of it or gotten it yet, you guys might want to check out DAZN, DAZN. That's a new sports app that for $10.99 a month, kind of like Netflix, they allow you to watch as many sports events on their network as you want. So I'm big into boxing, so a lot of boxers have signed with DAZN, like Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez, and so on and so forth. So, and I think maybe Triple G now. So I get to watch a lot of fights on DAZN, and they also have cricket matches on DAZN. So I'm going to get a chance to really look at cricket and get into the sport and learn about it. I want to learn who the best players are, who the best teams are, and just, you know, just kind of learn the ins and outs of it. So that's my 2 cents on the things I wanted to talk about today. Like I said before, I'll leave the name of my YouTube channel in the description below. Make sure you check it out, like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video for the latest in sports and music entertainment. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out the new album by Stevie Franks, The Bigger Picture. I'm on there on the track Tiger's Eye. It's a banger, as well as a lot of other dope artists on there. Actually, Stevie and Papioso just dropped a new track, I think about a week ago. That joint's fire too. So yeah, it's a lot of good music coming out of South Jersey and the 856 area and the Philly area. So, join the movement. We like to reach out and connect with the people out there. So, you show us love and we show you guys love back, and it's a mutual relationship, man. I want to make sure that you guys know that I appreciate each and every one of you guys that tune into my videos, leave suggestions and comments, and just show support. And that means so much. So don't ever think that I don't appreciate that. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go 76ers, and as always, salute.